Hey, and welcome back to JBC English Learning Academy. My name is Laura, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you truly love Jesus, like the video, subscribe to the channel, keep watching the video believing in Jesus, you will learn something good, and comment to let us know what you are watching. When we talk about consistency, we often think about something difficult or something heavy, like a long journey we must force ourselves to walk. But today, I want to take you into a very different place, a quiet place, a simple place. A place where your English learning journey starts not with pressure, but with a soft breath, a small hope, and a gentle reminder that change does not begin with big steps, but with the smallest one, the kind that almost feels invisible. So imagine this with me. It is early morning in a small town, and the sun is only starting to rise, sending soft gold light through an open window, and inside a small room, there is someone, maybe someone like you, sitting at a little wooden desk. Feeling a bit unsure, but also a bit excited, because today is the day they tell themselves, I want to speak English better. I want to understand the world better. I want to be consistent this time. And as they sit there, with a notebook open and a quiet mind, they think about the last time they tried to learn English, and maybe the time before that, and maybe even the time before that, and they remember how they always started strong, full of motivation, full of hope, but after a few days, or maybe a few weeks, everything slowly faded away, like a dream you forget after waking up. And maybe this person feels a little disappointed, a little guilty, a little afraid that the same thing will happen again, but still, they sit at the desk, and they breathe, and they whisper, this time I want to do it differently. This time I want to stay consistent. And maybe you feel the same way while listening. Maybe you too have felt frustration, or fear, or confusion. Maybe you have asked yourself, why can't I stay consistent? What is wrong with me? And I want to tell you something important, something gentle, something true. There is nothing wrong with you. Consistency is not about strength. It is not about talent or intelligence. It is not about pushing yourself like a machine. Consistency is about softness, about rhythm, about coming back again and again, even when the steps are small. Consistency is not something you force. It is something you build, like a little bridge made of tiny stones. And so our story begins with this simple idea. The first step is never big. It is small, almost quiet, but it is real, and it is powerful because it is yours. Now imagine our character. It could be you, or it could be someone else, getting up from the desk and walking to the window. They look outside and see life happening everywhere. People going to work, birds sitting on the wires, shops beginning to open their doors, the world moving forward with its own rhythm. And suddenly, they realize something. Everything in life moves with consistency. The sunrise is consistent. The wind is consistent. The seasons are consistent. Even the smallest seed grows with consistency. And in that moment, something changes inside them. They understand that consistency is not a punishment. It is a natural part of life. And if the world can grow slowly, then they can too. And so they decide to take the smallest step. They play a simple English audio. Maybe it is slow. Maybe it is easy. Maybe they understand only 50% or 30 or even 10. But they sit there and listen. They are not trying to be perfect. They are not trying to impress anyone. They are just listening. And while listening, they feel something unusual, something peaceful. For the first time, learning English does not feel like a mountain. It feels like water, calm and steady. And as the audio continues, they imagine themselves months later, or maybe years later, speaking English with confidence, clarity, ease. And they feel a warm emotion in their chest, not excitement, not fear, but a gentle trust. A trust in the process. A trust in the small steps. A trust in consistency. Then the audio finishes, and our character closes their eyes and smiles, because they did it. Not a big thing, not a dramatic thing, but a real thing. And that is where transformation quietly begins. Not with fireworks, not with shouting, but with a calm morning and a tiny choice. But the day continues, and soon life becomes loud again. They need to cook breakfast. They need to go to work. They need to answer messages, solve problems, face frustrations. And somewhere in the noise, the fear returns. The voice inside says, "What if you lose motivation again? What if you stop again? What if you can't stay consistent?" And suddenly the doubt grows larger, louder, heavier. But something is different this time. Because this time, they do not try to fight the fear. They simply pause and breathe. And they remember something. Consistency is not about perfection. Consistency is about returning. You will miss days. You will feel tired. You will get busy. You will forget. But if you return, even after stopping, even after struggling, even after feeling lost, you are still consistent. And so our character makes a small promise, not a big one, not a scary one, but a gentle one. If I miss a day, I will come back the next day. That is all. A simple, soft promise. And when you hear that, maybe you feel something deep inside yourself too, because maybe you also made big promises before. Promises like, "I will study English 2 hours every day," or "I will never miss a day," or "I will be fluent this year no matter what." And maybe those promises were too heavy. Maybe they scared you more than they helped you. Maybe they made you run fast at the beginning, but fall quickly later. So now, here in this moment, as you listen, I want to invite you to make the same small promise. If you miss a day, you come back the next day. That is consistency. That is power. That is transformation. Now, the evening arrives in our story. The light in the sky softens, and the town grows quiet. Our character returns home tired but calm. They sit again at the small wooden desk. They open their notebook. And they whisper to themselves, "Just 10 minutes. That is enough for today." And they read a short English paragraph. Slowly. Softly. No pressure. No rush. And as they read, the words begin to feel familiar, friendly, warm. Their mind relaxes. Their heart steadies. And suddenly, English is not something far away, not something scary, not something impossible. It becomes part of the rhythm of their day, like brushing their teeth, or drinking water, or taking a short walk. And that is the secret of consistency. It becomes natural. It becomes simple. It becomes part of who you are. And when they finish reading, they close the notebook with a quiet smile. Because for the first time ever, learning English feels peaceful. Not stressful. Not heavy. Peaceful. And with that feeling, they turn off the light, lie down, and fall asleep with a soft hope blooming quietly inside them. The hope that tomorrow they will return again. And that is where section 1 ends, in the gentle beginning of a new journey, your journey, a journey shaped not by big steps, but by small ones, repeated softly, kindly, and consistently. And as we close this section, I want you to take one small reflection with you. Consistency is not about being strong. It is about being gentle. It is not about speed. It is about rhythm. It is not about perfection. It is about returning. And if you can return again and again, even with small steps, you will transform not only your English, but your life. This is only the beginning. And tomorrow, in the next section, the story continues. The next morning arrives quietly, the way most important mornings do, without noise, without drama, without anything unusual to tell you that your life is slowly changing, and our character wakes up to a soft light touching their face, a light that feels warm and gentle, almost encouraging, as if the day itself is whispering, "You can begin again." And there is something different in their heart today, something calm, something steady, because even though they are still unsure, even though they are still afraid of repeating old patterns, they remember the small promise they made yesterday, the promise to return. Even if they miss a day, even if they feel tired, even if the world becomes loud and heavy. And this simple promise gives them enough courage to sit at the little wooden desk once more, the same desk where everything began, the same desk where the first step was taken. They open their notebook again, but this time, they do not open it with fear or pressure. They open it with curiosity, with softness. They sit for a moment, listening to the quiet room, feeling the morning air, and then they whisper to themselves, "You came back." That is enough. And as they take a deep breath, something beautiful happens inside them, a small shift, a tiny movement of belief. They are beginning to trust themselves again. Not completely, not fully, but enough to continue. And so they pick up a short English passage and begin reading out loud, slowly, clearly, letting each word fall into the room like a raindrop. At first, their voice is a little shaky, a little unsure, but as they continue, something softens. Their voice becomes stronger, not louder, but steadier. And they realize something important. Reading aloud is not just about practicing English. It is about hearing themselves, trusting themselves, accepting the sound of their own voice. Many learners feel shy when speaking English, afraid of sounding strange, afraid of making mistakes, afraid of others judging them. But here, alone in this quiet room, there is no judgment, no fear, no pressure. Just their voice, gentle and honest. And while reading, they notice a strange but wonderful feeling. The words that felt difficult yesterday feel a little easier today. Not perfect, not fluent, but easier. And this small improvement makes their heart warm, like a soft candle flame glowing gently. They finish the paragraph, close their eyes, and smile, because they can feel themselves growing, even if only a little. And that is the magic of consistency. You often don't notice the progress in the moment, but you feel it in the small differences, the tiny improvements. After reading, they sit quietly for a while, thinking about life, thinking about routines, thinking about how much time they have wasted before by waiting for motivation, waiting for a perfect mood, waiting for the right day to start. And then they understand something. Motivation is like the weather. It changes all the time. It comes and goes. Some days it is bright and strong. Some days it disappears completely. But consistency is like the ground beneath your feet. It stays. It supports you. It carries you forward. And so, instead of waiting for motivation, They decide to build a rhythm, a gentle daily rhythm, small but steady. They tell themselves, I don't need 2 hours. I don't need a perfect study plan. I only need 10 or 15 minutes every day. That is enough. That is my rhythm. And with this idea, the day continues. They prepare breakfast, get dressed, and head outside into the world. The town is alive now. People are hurrying to work. Cars are passing. Conversations float through the air. And in this busy world, our character carries a quiet promise inside their heart, a promise that no matter how loud the world becomes, they will return to their English practice each day. While walking to work, something interesting happens. They notice English words everywhere, on signs, on packaging, on people's phones, on advertisements. They realize English is not just a subject to study at a desk. It is part of the world, always present, always around them. And for a moment, they feel excited. They feel connected. They feel like the language is not something they need to chase. It is something they can gently welcome into their daily life. But then, like always, life becomes busy. Work gets stressful. People ask for help. Problems appear. Time feels shorter. Their mind becomes tired. And for a moment, they forget about their promise. Hours pass. The sun moves across the sky. And soon, it is late afternoon, and they feel exhausted and discouraged. A small voice inside whispers, maybe you should skip today. Maybe it's too much. Maybe you can start again tomorrow. And for a moment, they almost listen to that voice. They almost give in. They almost break the rhythm they are trying to build. But then something deep inside them speaks, a different voice, a softer one, a wiser one. It whispers, you don't need to do much. You only need to return. And that reminder gives them enough strength to continue through the day. They finish their work, say goodbye to their coworkers, and head home as the sky begins to turn orange and pink. The walk back is slow and thoughtful. The air is cooler. The streets are quieter. And with each step, they think about the idea of showing up, even when it feels difficult. When they reach their home, they open the door and step into the quiet room once more. The wooden desk waits patiently, the notebook rests where they left it, and everything feels familiar, safe, gentle. They sit down. They take a deep breath. And they whisper to themselves, just a little. That's all I need today. And once again, they read. Not much. Not long. But enough. They listen to a short English audio again. They repeat a few words. They practice a few sentences. And slowly, their tired mind relaxes. The stress from the day melts away. And English becomes a place of peace again, a soft space where they can slow down, breathe, and simply be with themselves. After the short practice, they close the notebook and feel proud. Not because they did something big, but because they kept their promise. They returned. And that return is the real victory. Later that night, while lying in bed, they think about how often they expected change to be dramatic, fast, big. But now they realize that growth is often quiet. Growth is often gentle. Growth happens slowly, like the way night becomes morning or the way winter becomes spring. It is never sudden, but it is always happening. And with that thought, they fall asleep, knowing that tomorrow, their third day, they will return again. And now I want you, as the listener, to take something with you from this part of the story. Consistency does not grow from pressure. It grows from patience. It grows from the small moments when you decide to show up, even when life is busy, even when your mood is low, even when everything feels difficult. And when you show up, even for 10 minutes, you are building something powerful inside yourself. Trust. Trust in your ability. Trust in your future. Trust in the process. And little by little, this quiet trust will become confidence. And confidence will become progress. And progress will become transformation. This is the quiet promise. The promise of returning, the promise of small steps, the promise of gentle growth. And in the next section, something unexpected will happen in our character's journey, something that will challenge their rhythm and teach them a deeper truth about consistency. But for now, rest in the softness of this moment, knowing that every small step you take is shaping your future. A few days later, our character faces the first real test of their quiet promise, a test that comes not with warning, not with clarity, but in the form of ordinary life, ordinary problems, ordinary distractions. And it begins with a morning that feels heavy, much heavier than usual. The sun rises, but today the light feels dull, and when our character opens their eyes, they feel tired even before the day begins. The body is sore from yesterday's long walk. The mind is clouded with thoughts about work, about bills, about family responsibilities, and for a moment, they think of skipping their English practice, of sitting idly with a cup of tea, letting the world pass by, letting themselves rest without effort, and the temptation feels strong, almost impossible to resist, because the quiet promise, as gentle and soft as it is, now feels fragile against the weight of a busy day. And yet, something inside them reminds them of the small but powerful truth they discovered before. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about returning, no matter how small the step, no matter how heavy the heart, no matter how dark the moment. And so, after a few deep breaths, they rise from bed and walk slowly to the familiar wooden desk, each step feeling like a small victory, each step reminding them that showing up is already more than they think. The notebook lies open where they left it, the pencil waiting quietly, the air around them calm, and for a moment, they pause, close their eyes, and whisper, "I will try. I will return. That is enough." And then they begin. At first, their voice is shaky as they read aloud, as if their body and mind are arguing about whether they should continue, but gradually, word by word, sentence by sentence, the rhythm returns. They listen to a short audio, repeat a few words, write a few sentences in the notebook, and slowly, very slowly, the world outside their room seems to fade, leaving only the quiet space of practice, a space where mistakes are welcome, where effort is enough, where the journey matters more than the outcome. And then life interrupts again, unexpectedly, urgently. A phone call from a family member, a problem at work, a message from a friend who needs help, and all at once, the calm moment disappears, replaced by noise, distraction, and a growing sense of frustration. Our character feels the old fear rising. Maybe I should give up today. Maybe it is too late. Maybe it doesn't matter. And for a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, the weight is almost too much, and they consider abandoning their promise. But then, somewhere deep inside, a memory surfaces, yesterday's small victory, the morning when they returned even tired, the gentle trust that began to grow inside them, and that memory is enough to pull them back, to remind them that even 10 minutes, even a few sentences, even a single word counts. And so, they close their eyes, breathe, and return to the desk once more, choosing small steps instead of giving up completely, choosing action instead of surrender, choosing consistency instead of fear. The test of life continues throughout the day, not as one dramatic event, but as a series of small challenges, emails to answer, errands to run, tasks to finish, people to listen to, problems to solve, and each moment tempts them to forget, to postpone, to delay, to choose comfort over growth, but each time they remember the quiet promise and take one small action, reading a sentence, repeating a word, listening for 30 seconds, and in that repetition, in that return, something powerful happens. They begin to understand the secret of consistency. It is not a straight line. It is a spiral, moving up and forward, sometimes circling back, sometimes slow, sometimes hard, but always building strength, always creating momentum, always shaping character. And in the evening, when the sun begins to set and paints the sky with pink and orange, they finally sit down in the quiet room again, exhausted, but with a feeling of achievement because they kept returning, even when life tested them, even when they felt weak, even when the temptation to stop was strongest. They open the notebook, review a few sentences, repeat a few words, and suddenly, everything from today feels meaningful. The tiredness of the body feels different. It does not feel heavy or discouraging. It feels like proof, like a medal, like the gentle evidence that showing up matters more than perfection, more than speed, more than talent. And as they sit there, a strange but wonderful feeling grows in their heart, a mix of pride, trust, and peace, and they realize for the first time that consistency is not something you chase in the future. It is something you create in each moment, each choice, each small act of return. And then, as night falls, they reflect on the day. They think about how easily they could have given up, how easily they could have let distractions win, how easy it would have been to postpone practice to tomorrow. And yet, here they are, stronger, calmer, more confident, more present, because they did not give in. They kept the promise. And in that reflection, they learn something that changes everything. Life will always test you. Life will always distract you. Life will always make consistency difficult. But it is in those very challenges that consistency grows. It is in those very moments that you build strength, not in easy days, not in perfect days, but in ordinary, messy, real days. And as they close their notebook and turn off the light, lying in bed with a calm mind, they feel a new kind of hope, not the nervous, uncertain hope of someone starting over, but the quiet, steady hope of someone who knows that they can return again and again, no matter what. And that hope is more powerful than motivation. That hope is more important than talent. That hope is the foundation of transformation. And as they drift into sleep, dreams carry them gently forward, as if the mind itself is practicing consistency, rehearsing the return, imagining future mornings, future evenings, future days where showing up becomes a natural rhythm, where effort is no longer a burden, where English becomes a friend, a companion, a way to understand the world, a way to express themselves, a way to feel alive. And in this moment, the listener, you, can feel it too. The test of life is inevitable, but so is the power of small, repeated action, the power of quiet return, the power of the promise you make to yourself. And so, the takeaway from this chapter is simple, yet profound. Consistency is born not in perfect conditions, not in easy moments, not in dramatic breakthroughs, but in ordinary life, in the small choices to return. In the repeated gentle actions that seem almost invisible, but that accumulate into a force strong enough to change your English, your skills, your habits, your confidence, and ultimately your life. And as you hear this story, know that the journey is still just beginning, and that tomorrow our character will face another challenge, one that tests not only their actions, but their heart, their belief, and their connection to the quiet promise that is slowly transforming them, teaching them the true meaning of patience, courage, and trust. And with that, Section 3 ends, leaving the listener with a soft but powerful reflection. Show up, even when it is hard, even when life distracts you, even when your energy is low, because each return is a step forward, a step toward mastery, a step toward transformation, a step toward a life shaped not by chance, but by quiet, intentional consistency. A few weeks into the journey, our character reaches a moment that feels different from all the days before, a moment where the rhythm of consistency begins to show its subtle, almost invisible effects, a moment that is quiet yet powerful. And it begins early one morning when the sun rises softly, spilling gold across the walls of their room, and they wake not with heavy doubt, not with the fear of failure, but with a quiet curiosity, a gentle eagerness to see what will happen today, and the difference feels almost magical because they notice it immediately. The words they read yesterday feel smoother, easier, and even the audio they struggled with before now seems familiar, friendly, like an old companion welcoming them back. And this tiny feeling of familiarity sparks a small joy in their heart, a warmth that grows as they sit at the little wooden desk once more, open the notebook, and begin to read and speak, slowly, clearly, and with a confidence that has never been there before. A confidence not loud or proud, but quiet, steady, like the flow of a gentle river, and as they continue, they notice something even more remarkable. The fear that used to stop them, the doubt that used to cloud their mornings, the voice that whispered, "Maybe you cannot do this," has softened, has become quieter, has begun to fade into the background, replaced by a calm voice that says, "You can continue. You can try again. You are doing this, one small step at a time," and with each repeated action, each sentence read aloud, each word spoken, each short audio listened to, their mind begins to trust themselves, their memory improves, their understanding grows. And something extraordinary begins to happen. They start noticing connections between words, phrases, and sentences, not because they memorize them, not because they pushed themselves to perfection, but because they returned again and again, softly, patiently, consistently, and in this realization, they feel a deep sense of wonder, as if a hidden door inside them has opened, showing a new space where learning is no longer a struggle, no longer a battle, but a rhythm, a dance, a story unfolding naturally. And with this awareness, they begin to experiment, to explore, to play with English in ways they never dared before, trying new sentences, speaking to themselves aloud, imagining conversations, and even making mistakes feels wonderful now because mistakes are no longer obstacles. They are teachers, They are invitations. They are small lights pointing the way forward. And this turning point marks the first time our character feels that English is becoming a living part of their world. Not just something they study at a desk, but something they breathe, something they carry, something they feel, something that connects them to people, ideas, stories, and life itself. And this feeling sparks a new energy, a new curiosity, a new courage. Because they realize that the power they've been building is not in memorization, not in intelligence, not in talent, but in the simple act of showing up every day, returning no matter how small the step, trusting the process, and allowing consistency to shape them in ways that are gentle, deep, and transformative. And so the day continues, with life happening around them, work, errands, conversations, noises, responsibilities. But none of it feels like an obstacle now, because the practice has created a safe space inside, a quiet center that they can return to no matter what happens outside. And when challenges appear, like a sudden problem at work or an unexpected request from a friend, they handle it with calmness and clarity, noticing that even difficult moments no longer shake them as they used to. Noticing that the act of returning daily to English practice has strengthened not only their skills, but also their patience, their focus, their attention, their ability to stay present. And as evening comes, they sit again at the desk, not out of guilt, not out of pressure, but because they want to, because they are drawn to the quiet joy of practice, the gentle satisfaction of seeing progress, the warmth of their own growing confidence. And they reflect on the journey so far, remembering how hard it was at the beginning, how heavy the doubt felt, how impossible consistency seemed, and they feel proud, not boastful, but quietly proud, because they kept the promise to themselves. They returned again and again, even on hard days, even when life distracted them, even when they felt weak. And in that quiet reflection, they understand a profound truth. Transformation is not sudden, it is not dramatic, it is not loud, it is slow, patient, gentle, cumulative, like water carving stone, like the sun shaping the earth over months and years. And this truth changes everything, because now they realize that life, English, confidence, discipline, happiness, they all grow this way, slowly, softly, consistently. And when they grasp this truth, they feel an inner light, a trust, a sense of power that comes not from external achievements, but from the quiet mastery of showing up, from the inner knowledge that they can return again and again, no matter what. And this moment becomes a turning point, not just for learning English, but for life itself, because they now know that progress is not measured in hours or days or weeks alone, but in the gentle accumulation of repeated actions, in the courage to return, in the patience to grow slowly. And they carry this awareness into tomorrow, thinking about the possibilities, imagining how far they could go if they continue this rhythm, imagining conversations they could have, ideas they could understand, stories they could tell. And in that imagination, their heart swells with gentle excitement, a quiet thrill that motivates them without pressure, that inspires them without stress, that invites them to continue, to explore, to practice, to live fully in the process rather than worrying about the end. And as they close the notebook, turn off the light, and lie down to sleep, they feel the soft satisfaction of deep trust, the kind of trust that whispers, "You can do this. You are doing this. You are enough." You can return tomorrow. You can keep going, and that trust is stronger than any fear, stronger than any doubt, stronger than any obstacle, and it carries them gently into dreams filled with words, sentences, ideas, conversations, laughter, connections, and the quiet joy of a mind and heart growing, stretching, opening, and expanding in ways they could not have imagined at the beginning. And so the turning point is complete. Not a loud victory, not a dramatic moment, but a quiet, invisible, powerful shift inside. The kind of shift that shapes the way they will learn, speak, listen, and live from this day forward, teaching them that consistency is not a rule, not a punishment, not a heavy task, but a gentle rhythm, a daily choice, a small, repeated act that accumulates into life-changing transformation. And as you, the listener, take in this story, you can feel it too, the power of showing up, the magic of gentle repetition, the quiet strength of returning, the unseen growth happening slowly but surely in yourself as you imagine your own journey. And with this awareness, Section 4 ends, leaving you with a deep, soft reflection. Every small return matters. Every gentle action builds trust. Every patient step transforms. And every day you come back, you shape your English, your mind, your heart, and your life in ways that are invisible now but undeniable tomorrow. The days turn into weeks, and the weeks begin to shape months, and as time quietly passes, our character notices something remarkable. What once felt impossible now feels natural, almost effortless, because the small, gentle, repeated actions they started months ago have accumulated like invisible threads weaving a strong, resilient fabric. And one morning, as they wake to soft sunlight spilling into the room, they realize that they no longer feel the heavy doubt that once haunted them, the fear that their efforts would be wasted, the anxiety that every day must be perfect because something deeper has taken root, a quiet confidence, a trust in themselves, a calm understanding that real progress does not demand heroics, but presence, consistency, patience, and love for the process itself. And as they sit at the familiar wooden desk, the notebook open, the pencil ready, they feel the gentle thrill of returning, of practicing English, not because they must, not because they are afraid, but because they want to, because the habit is now a part of their life, a part of who they are. And while reading, listening, and speaking today, they notice something even more profound. They understand words faster, sentences make sense more easily. They can imagine dialogues, they can think in English without translating, and this awareness brings a wave of quiet joy, a soft pride, and a peaceful sense of achievement that is far richer than any sudden victory could ever bring. And as they continue their practice, they remember the very first day, the first hesitant step, the first soft promise to return, and they feel gratitude not only for themselves, but for the gentle rhythm they discovered, the patience they nurtured, the trust they built. And this reflection brings an even deeper realization. Transformation is not about rushing, not about perfect plans, not about talent, not about magic. It is about the quiet accumulation of small, consistent actions, about showing up, returning, being present, and embracing the process fully. And with that awareness, they notice another shift. They are no longer just practicing English. They are living it, breathing it, thinking in it, feeling it, and in doing so, they feel connected to the world in a new way, noticing words on signs, phrases in conversations, sentences in movies, and the language that once seemed distant and difficult is now alive, approachable, friendly, and welcoming, and in this connection, they find freedom, the freedom to express themselves, to share ideas, to understand stories, to communicate with confidence, to engage with life more fully, and as evening falls, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and orange, they sit back and reflect on their journey. Remembering the heavy mornings, the fear of failure, the moments of doubt, the days when life distracted them, the moments when they almost gave up, and they realized that every small return mattered, that every gentle choice to show up, even when tired, even when unmotivated, even when life was noisy, was a victory in itself, and that this quiet, repeated dedication is what created the transformation, not some sudden burst of effort, not some dramatic event, not some perfect moment, but the simple, repeated act of coming back again and again, day after day, week after week, month after month, and in that realization, they smile softly, a smile that carries calm confidence, deep pride, gentle joy, and the quiet satisfaction of someone who has discovered the true power of consistency. And now, as they close the notebook, turn off the light, and lie down to rest, they understand that life itself is a reflection of this principle, that any dream, any skill, any goal, any change grows slowly, quietly, consistently, and when we honor that rhythm, when we show up with patience and trust, we can create transformation beyond what we once imagined, and in that peaceful moment, drifting into sleep, our character knows they are not only learning English, they are learning life, learning patience, learning trust, learning presence, learning that small, gentle, consistent actions are more powerful than dramatic efforts, more reliable than fleeting motivation, more transformative than temporary bursts of energy, and that realization fills them with a deep calm, a quiet strength, a resilient hope that tomorrow will bring another opportunity to return, to practice, to grow, to transform further, and as you, the listener, take in this story, you can feel it too. The power of consistency is in your hands. The quiet promise to yourself is enough. The small steps you take every day, repeated softly and patiently, are shaping your English, your mind, your habits, your confidence, your life, and with each return, each gentle effort, each mindful action, you are creating a new version of yourself, a stronger, calmer, wiser, more capable version, and that is the ultimate transformation, the change that is slow, invisible, cumulative, but undeniable, powerful, and life-changing. And so as the story ends, let this reflection stay with you. Show up. Return. Take small steps. Trust the process. Be patient. Be gentle. Be consistent. Because through these small, repeated actions, not only will your English improve, not only will your listening and speaking skills grow, not only will your confidence blossom, but your life itself will transform quietly, steadily, beautifully. and in ways you can only imagine. And this is the gift, the lesson, the takeaway, the secret, the power of consistency when embraced fully, softly, and persistently is limitless. And with that knowledge, you can carry this story forward into your own life, returning again and again, step by step, day by day, toward your own transformation. Thank you so much for joining today's lesson here at JBC English Learning Academy. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me what you want to learn next. Your support helps the channel grow and helps me create more lessons for you. Take care, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next class.